This is the North Mobile Post radio show, and I am your host, David Merrill. The big story is, of course, once again, Hurricane Isaac. Yes, it is now a hurricane. The latest stats, the 11 p.m. Eastern Time update, the storm was packing 80-mile-per-hour winds with a central pressure of 968 millibars. That's a very low pressure for a Category 1 storm. I don't know if it was a record. I heard him talking about it on the Weather Channel earlier, but it's very low. This is just a Category 1, and it's moving very slowly now, 8 miles an hour to the northwest. And just looking at the pictures now, the satellite images, especially the infrared satellite images, this storm now has that classic hurricane look. As it moved across the Gulf, it had the backside had a gaping hole in it, and then it was on the top, it had a flat top. There was apparently dry air in the Gulf that was inhibiting development, and that's why we're only looking at a Category 1 storm. Well, that's all gone now, apparently, because this thing just looks like I said, if you know the hurricane symbol, that's what it looks like, a classic hurricane. And you can see the image on the front page of the NorthMobilePost.com. And this is a serious storm. It's only a Category 1. People tend to brush it off. But like I said, that central pressure, this is a very strong Category 1. And it's going to have, with that speed at only 8 miles an hour to the northwest, it is going to dump a lot of rain. And that surge is going to be pretty strong, like I said, because of that central pressure. This is a stronger storm than it looks. And it is going to dump a lot of water on the Louisiana area. And those new levees, are going to be put to the test in New Orleans. I'm broadcasting from the Mobile area, and we are getting feeder bands here now. It's tapered off a bit at the moment. I'm recording this at 12:30 a.m., but in the last hour, we've gotten a nice strong band of rain and wind. I can hear the rain pelting the house and hear the wind blowing, creaking the walls. Probably just 20, 30-mile-an-hour gusts, but it is noticeable, and that's expected to continue through the night and into tomorrow. New Orleans and the Louisiana area could see hurricane conditions for up to 24 hours. They are going to get absolutely pounded. And like I said, just because this is a Category 1, that is no reason to underestimate this storm, particularly the water, because it doesn't matter how strong it is. Even the 6 to 12-foot storm surge can be devastating. And hopefully everyone in Louisiana has taken shelter. I'm assuming so. I think everyone learned their lesson after Katrina. The area is much better prepared now. Emergencies were declared well in advance. And hopefully no one gets killed in this storm. That would be the ultimate victory if we could have no fatalities from the storm. It's already killed a few people in Haiti. Over a dozen people, actually, I think. And we're hoping to avoid that now. I don't think there have been any reports of deaths yet. I'm not quite sure. My attention's been slightly diverted tonight, covering the Republican convention and some local elections as well. So I haven't seen any deaths yet, but let's hope that doesn't happen. And now I do want to switch gears to the Republican convention. Two big speakers tonight were Chris Christie and Ann Romney. There was a lot of other speakers, but those are the two I want to talk about. One key thing out of those two speakers, I noticed, and a lot of other people noticed, they did not mention President Obama by name, and that was probably deliberate. I'm guessing the Republican Party did not want to come across as bashing the president. This goes back to the problem they were worried about with this hurricane hitting. They don't want to be seen as bashing the president with a big natural disaster hitting the country. Obama's going to be in the news the next couple of days, especially once the hurricane clears out. I'm sure he'll be going down to tour the damage after the hurricane. And if he handles it well, and if the press sees him as handling it well, he'll get a good bump out of that. So they don't want to be seen as hammering him while that's going on, and that's very smart. One thing that caught my eye was the fact that the two big speeches, Christie and Ann Romney, they kind of conflicted with each other. Ann Romney, as expected, she was sent in to humanize Mitt Romney, to soften his image, as this corporate raider. And they've kind of been doing that previously. I've talked about in previous shows that MSNBC had a special, looked into his family life. He was on Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace. They looked into his personal life, and I think they did a really good job of humanizing him. And that's what Ann Romney was really supposed to do to the biggest audience yet. This was on national TV, NBC, CBS. It was all over the place. So this was the biggest chance. And I'm going to get into her speech a little more later. But and her theme was kind of love. You know, she used that word a lot, love, and she even mentioned it as her theme. Whereas Chris Christie came right behind her and said, you know, this country didn't need love, it needed respect. That love without respect was fleeting. I believe that was his quote. And that's like almost a direct contrast to what Ann Romney said. So they were kind of a little conflicting there. That was a bit odd to hear, you know, because you know these things are all orchestrated. But Chris Christie's his own man, and I'm sure, of course he took his cues, but he's going to say what he's going to say. Now, getting into him, he was the keynote speaker tonight, and I was very impressed with his speech. He didn't so much slam Obama by name a lot, he just said this last few years was a failure, of course he had to say what he had to say to get his guy elected, and a lot of people said it was very negative. I didn't think his speech was really that negative. I thought he did a good job of, he talked himself up a lot. He did not mention Romney until 20 minutes into his speech. It was mostly about him, and you could really look at this as him boosting himself up, but he did. He talked about what he's done in New Jersey, how they've compromised. He's worked with Democrats, and I think he probably left a lot of Republicans wishing that they had picked him, which a lot did. A lot really wanted him to run, and I now see why. Like I said, I came away very impressed, but it was a speech mostly about him. He did make a push at the end to promote Mitt Romney. One of his big lines that I liked, he said, "Leaders don't follow polls, they change them." And I think that is very true. You can't be a guy who just goes with the polls, fleeting and all that. And he was making that attack at Obama, but that could just as easily apply to Mitt Romney, a guy who's known as a flip-flopper, and they, called him an etch-a-sketch, that they could change his whole, he had to go hard right in the primaries, and they said he's an etch-a-sketch, they can shake him up and make him more moderate for the general election, because that's the way primaries generally work. You go hardcore for your base in the primaries, and then in the general election you come back to the middle. So I thought that quote could just as easily fit Romney as it could Obama. It really fits them both. But it's a very powerful quote, and one I very much agree with. Moving on to Ann Romney's speech, I thought it was good, but I wasn't blown away with it. Juan Williams over at Fox News, I thought he kind of described it pretty well, He said he just didn't quite buy, that she, because Ann Romney, she tried to talk about, how they struggled right out of the gate. And that's not the perception of Mitt Romney, that he's ever struggled. And, he didn't. His dad ran for president, so this is not a guy who struggled a lot in his life, and neither did she. But that was the message she was trying to go, and Juan Williams called her a corporate wife. That's what she reminded him of. And I'm not exactly sure what that means, but she reminds me of a wife from a 70s sitcom representing the 50s, the kind of classic American mom, American wife. That's what she reminds me of. Very politically correct, very proper, all of that. And the problem with that is that is not really going to connect with today's women, I don't think. Today's women are not trying to be like that. They're more independent. They're more, I don't know what the term is. They're more independent, I guess is the best way to describe it. And I'm not sure. I'm sure the Republican base ate up her speech, but I don't know if she won over a lot of independents with it. She is a good surrogate for him, and she comes off as more human than Mitt Romney. But, again, Juan Williams hit on the head. I don't think she can really, understand the everyday struggles of the average American. And Peggy Noonan, a famed speechwriter, also was on Fox News. And, she said she did good, about like I did. She said she did good, but she didn't seem overly impressed with Ann Romney's speech. And she said she missed an opportunity to tell us something we didn't know about Mitt Romney because, she went over, she talked about how she had MS and breast cancer, things we kind of know, but didn't really dig in to who Mitt Romney is. We just didn't get that inside look. We get a peek. And I'm in complete agreements with Peggy Noonan, a woman who knows a thing or two about writing a speech. The parts that her speech that did I thought were very good. She, talking about charity, talking about how Mitt doesn't like to talk about charity. He just likes to do it. He ain't trying to gain glory. I like that. I believe that about him very much because it is well known that he, well, it's maybe not well known. Of course, I follow politics, so I knew he has donated a lot of money personally, even though he's against government doing it. He has done it himself to help the poor. And she also said that no one will work harder, about in a way to describe Mitt Romney. And that, I thought the whole trying to come off as they had a struggle to get up and all that, no one's going to believe that. No one's going to buy that. I think that was a wasted argument. The argument I feel, and she did to a degree here, that they should be making is that, he has succeeded everywhere he's went. He succeeded at Bain and Company. He succeeded as Bain Capital. He helped start that up. He was succeeded at the Olympics. He succeeded as governor of Massachusetts. He did some things. He got health care done there. That's the thing they should be going for. And they, like I said, their campaign has just been all over the board. I don't think the Romney campaign has done a good job running the campaign. But her speech, like I said, I thought those were good points she made there, that no one will work harder than Mitt Romney. Overall, a good first day, I would say, for the Republican Party. They, who else? Rick Santorum spoke. I believe Michelle Bachmann spoke somewhere. I'm not sure if she spoke at the convention or not. That must have been one of the times I was on the hurricane coverage. But a good first day. Chris Christie, I really think he hit a home run. A lot of people thought he was going to come out with this just bombastic assault on Obama and the Democrats and all that, and he didn't. He had it toned down, and that was likely deliberate because of the hurricane and all that. He didn't want to come off as too partisan, and but he did contrast them. He made a very strong point of contrasting the two parties, what Democrats want to do and what Republicans want to do, and I thought he did it excellently. And if Mitt Romney does not win the presidency this year, I believe Chris Christie will be running in 2016, and I will believe he will be a very potent candidate. I liked what I saw from him. He's got an unconventional delivery style. He's not proper like Mitt Romney or Barack Obama, but he's very relatable, and he is the kind of guy who can get the common voter. I believe he could get a lot of Democratic votes. I don't think Mitt Romney's getting a lot of Democrats to vote for him, to be honest with you. He has to really get, this is going to be a turnout election for him. He's got to get his base, and he's doing a pretty good job of that. And he has got to try to get some independents, some swing voters. I don't know how many there are out there, but whatever there is, he has to get it. The demographics are working against him, and it's going to be a hard election from him. He should be winning this pretty big by now because the economy's not doing so great. People are not doing well. The middle class has just been on a downward spiral for the last really 30 years, but had a small break in the 90s. Everybody did well under the tech boom, but the last decade was a struggle under President Bush, and it's been a struggle under Obama as jobs have been hemorrhaged to overseas markets. And that, like I said, that on top of the changing demographics of the country, and the Republican Party has not done a good job trying to get these other demographics. They have not gone after the Hispanic vote. George W. Bush did a pretty good job with the Hispanic vote due to his time in Texas. He was fairly popular, and his brother, Jeb Bush, very popular, semi-popular with the Hispanic vote, I should say. But it's fallen. It fell under McCain, and it's falling under Romney. And President Obama is very popular with the Hispanic community. That's one place. The women vote. Obama is ahead of Mitt Romney. And all this abortion talk and contraception talk, it just does the Republican Party no favors. So, but Chris Christie, I believe, is a guy who could get the working class vote on all sides. And like I said, if Mitt Romney doesn't win this year, I think Christie will run in 2016, and I think he will be a formidable guy. That's it for today's show and the coverage of today's at the convention. We'll have coverage of Day 2 tomorrow, which will feature Paul Ryan's speech. I'm looking forward to that. And we'll also have continuing coverage of Hurricane Isaac as it makes landfall in Louisiana. So tune in tomorrow for another episode of the North Mobile Post Radio Show.